Brian, tape on? Okay, Rabbi. Okay.
Can everybody hear me okay? Good. Kol omer kra, ba'amar ma'akra, kol ha'basar chatzir, b'chol chasto ketzitz hasadeh, yavesh chatzir novel tzitz ki ruach Adonai nashvabo. Achen chatzir ha'am, yavesh chatzir novel tzitz u'devar Eloheinu yakum le'olam. A voice says to cry out, but I ask, what shall I cry? All flesh is like grass. All of its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, the flower fades, when a wind from God blows upon it. Surely, therefore, people are like grass. The grass withers, and the flower fades, but the word of God endures forever. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar binodeshi arbitzeni, al mei menachot yinhaleni, nafshi yeshavev, yancheni v'magle tzedek l'man shemo. Gam ki elech b'geit salmavet lo ira ra ki ata imadi, shiftecha umishantecha hema yinachamuni. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He has me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He guides me on paths of righteousness. He revives my soul for the sake of his glory. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod, they comfort me. You set a table in sight of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall abide in the house of the Lord forever. First of all, I want to say that I'm a little jealous of the three of you, the two of you with your sister, because of the relationship you would have with your aunt. I had aunts and uncles growing up. They were lovely people, and they were warm, and I loved them, and they loved me, but I didn't really spend a lot of lengthy, meaningful time with them. They'd come in from out of town, certain occasions, always warm. It wasn't a stranger. We liked each other. But I couldn't get to know them in terms of the details of their life or them knowing the details of my life. We had to try to catch up later, but it just wasn't that way. We cared, but we were not in each other's lives regularly. Your life, Annabel, was just completely different. A member of the family, not just in name and not just belonging as part of a family tree. She was a member of the family, a member of your life. The way you identified with the world was through your family that included Annabel. She spoke up. She was direct with you. She told you what was on her mind. There was a familiarity that you had that could only be achieved with years of family living. That's where that familiarity comes from. It may have also been her personality, but in addition, it was very much the familiarity of the love of family. And as she lived with your grandmother, you would care for her. You would go there at least once a week, and Stan, you remember Friday nights as well. And your aunt was a sharp lady. She had a clear mind, insightful, creative, resourceful. She had a distinguished working career, first in administration, but ultimately helping Harry Stone, being such a valuable vice president to him. She had worked in Jewish welfare, and as you explained to me, Lucille saw her talents, and before too long, she was similarly well regarded by Harry. You mentioned that her conversion of the building at 116th and Euclid into an artist's loft and reviving that structure was just one example of Annabel in action. She loved culture, no doubt about that. She appreciated art. She was very capable in her involvement and her contribution in the park art shows during that period of time. She would collect art, ceramics, glass. She had a good knowledge of art and artists. Annabel was what we would call a woman in a man's world at that time. It was still very much a challenge for a woman to prove her worth in a leadership position. The irony of Justice Ginsburg passing away, we talked about that, the fact that this was someone on a judicial level that saw the same things, same challenges. Annabel was up to the task. And probably without you even realizing it at the time, she was an early role model to you of how one negotiates that world. She was a professional role model to you. She was a personal role model to you, caring for her mom, and also having just a wonderful and special relationship with her brother, with your father. You saw play out in front of you the loyalty and the supportiveness and the admiration of two siblings for each other. Your dad and of course your mom made sure that you could be in Annabel's life and she in yours. They had always been close. Your dad had been 2 years older. She held him in such high regard. He was in every way her elder brother, caring about her and thinking highly of her. But you know, she was in your lives not only because Annabel would get something out of it, but because all of you would benefit from it. She was the informal family historian, so she told you things about the family you never would have known. But she was also an accomplished person in her own right. She was cultured. You each took a trip with her when you were 16 of your choice. Trips that affected each of you, influenced you, made you more worldly. You made new discoveries with her. We just finished Rosh Hashanah, and that was her holiday, right? You went to her for Rosh Hashanah. She set the most beautiful settings of the table, linen napkins. And as you know very, very well, Annabel liked order. She liked things with a certain protocol. She liked everything in their own place. There's a way of doing things, and she would express it to you. Her dental hygiene was legendary. A national spokesman for Listerine and Colgate toothpaste. And those entries for her checks in that checkbook had better be in order. And she knew what clothing she liked and what clothing she didn't like. She shaped her own style. I don't just mean clothing. She shaped her own style in all levels of life. But with clothing, she had her own sense of style. She took pride in looking nice. But yes, she organized her world. Her things were labeled, but it wasn't just that her things were labeled and organized, that her protocol involved linen napkins and involved many other things. She organized her life in a certain way. She liked to travel. She made sure that was part of her protocol of life. She loved the synagogue. She had a regular place at services. She was active in sisterhood. That was also part of her protocol of life. She was very knowledgeable about current events. She had her political preferences. That was her protocol. She was involved in life, immersed in activities. And another one of the protocols of her life and having things in order was about friends. If you were Annabel's friend, you were a friend for life. She had lifetime friends from her middle school years, friends for life. And maybe her most important way of doing things, maybe her most significant protocol, was that she didn't look back, she looked forward. She was a forward-looking person on many levels. She didn't dwell and could have turned left when I turned right. It was always full steam ahead. She developed, I know, a wonderful relationship with Marvin during later years of her life. And you all admire how she aged gracefully and with dignity. Still vibrant, articulate, thoughtful, analytical in many ways. And she developed relationships with your kids. I mean, that's all forward-looking person. Annabel always, I think, had a little bit of artsy cool in her. And that translated very well into every generation. And you know, you said this in many different ways, but I'll put it in my way. She showed up. She showed up for things. That's what closeness is. That's what family togetherness is. That's what bonding is all about. She showed up. Your activities, family events, holidays, Thanksgiving, or just for no reason at all. She showed up and you showed up for her. You were there for each other. Having such a relationship added a layer of richness to your lives that you wouldn't have had otherwise, an additional depth. Not only did you get to know her, I would think you got to learn a lot about your dad by knowing so much about his sister and their relationship. You learned a lot about family memory and about family love and loyalty. In her last years, of course, her condition became more challenging, but she never complained. And you know why she never complained? She didn't complain for the same reason that she wore certain clothes. She didn't complain for the same reason that she wanted to do so well in her professional career. She didn't complain for the same reason that she kept up on current events and expressed her opinions directly to you and came to the synagogue all the time. She didn't complain because that wasn't her style. It just wasn't her style to complain of. She had a wonderful style, physically, in appearance, and spiritually. And she kept that style always. She lived with a good name, and she dies with a good name. Let's rise now for the memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamatzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Bemalot Kedoshim, Utehorim, Annabel Berkman Hastireha, the Seiter Knafech Oli Olamim, Utzror Bitzracha Mit Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachalata, V'tanuach B'Shalom HaMishkava, V'nomar Amen. May we remember all of the worthy deeds that she performed in the land of the living. God is now her portion. May she rest in peace. And we all say Amen. We're going to take a moment and lower the casket. We can create space needed for that, and then we'll be able to put some dirt on the casket. Dayan Hamet Shofet Tzedek Hamet Baruch Dayan Hamet Shekol Mishpatav Tzedek Hamet Nefesh Kol Chai B'Yadecha Tzedek Mala Yiminecha Rachema Pleitat Son Yadecha V'Tamar Lamol Afer Yadecha Gedol Eitzav V'Rava Liliyah Asher Inecha P'Chuchah Chol Darchei V'nei Adam Latet Lish Kidracha V'Chifri Me'al Alav L'Hagid Ki Ashar Adonai Suri V'Lo Avla Tavo Adonai Natan V'Adonai Lakach Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach V'hu rachum yechaper avon v'lo yashchit v'erbo shivapo v'lo ya'ir kol chamato. Al makoma tavo v'shalom. Yashov ha'afar al ha'aretz k'shehaya v'haruach tashuv el ha'elohim asher nitana. The dust returns to the earth as it was, but the soul returns to God who gave it. Grant strength and comfort to those who are mourning. Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach. God gives and God takes away. Blessed be the name of God. I'm going to give you a few moments. Whoever would like to participate in this mitzvah. It indicates a caring for the deceased to this very last step. Okay, in future weeks, of course, come on back in. In future weeks, I was going to say that the community takes now the responsibility to say Kaddish.
I was going to ask you about that.
But now you'll begin. I mean, we'll be the first minion to say Kaddish for her, and obviously there will be other minyanim in coming weeks. But I think we can all say it for her. Yit Gadal v'Kadash Shemei Rabbah v'Alma Divrach Dirutei v'Amlich Malchutei v'Chayechon v'Yomechon v'Chayei Dechol Beit Yisrael v'Agala u'Vizman Kariv Mimaru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevarach le'olam u'olmei Omaya Yitbarach v'Yishtabach v'Yitpahar v'Yitromam v'Yitnaseh v'Yithadar v'Yitaleh v'Yithalal Shemei Kudusha B'Richu Le'ela Minko Birchata V'Shirata Tushbechata V'Nechamata Damiran V'Alma V'Maru Amen Yehei Shalama Rabba Min Shemaya V'Chaim Aleinu V'Alko Yisrael V'Maru Amen Oseh Shalom B'Ramav V'Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Alko Yisrael V'Maru Amen. My God, the soul you have given me is pure. You have created it. You have fashioned it. You have breathed life into it, and you preserve it daily within me. There will, however, come a day when you'll take that soul away from me. But you will return it to me in the life to come. So long as the soul remains within me on this earth, I will continue to thank you for the blessings I am granted during my lifetime. O Lord my God, the God of my ancestors, the God of my people. Amen. Services are now concluded.
This concludes our Zoom service. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.